So this seems like a pretty small movement, but when you do it for 1 minute, it's life-changing. What I'm trying to get across today is how important it is to stay with something long enough for it to work, and how just dabbling in a stretch routine or in a yoga routine, it doesn't really do anything. It's like being a tourist in a country. Like you're there for like a moment, you don't really understand how to get around, how to eat the food, or how the culture works. But if you stay with it, right, if you go and you live in that country long enough for it to make a difference in your life, then things change. Same thing with your practice, same thing with each individual stretch that we're doing today. We're going to stay with each one for 1 minute. We're going to stay with it long enough for it to work. And we're going to get started on our back using a resistance band. I'm going to set the timer for 1 minute, and I'm going to place the band around one of my feet, my right foot. And I'm going to gently pull in and then press back. So this seems like a pretty small movement, but when you do it for 1 minute, it's life-changing. One of the rules I have with my practice is not to worry about the rules that someone else told me about their practice. So for example, sometimes you want to level your hips when you do these stretches. But if you really want to get deep into the hamstrings, you let the hips do whatever they need to do. You can't do everything all at once. And right now, all I want to do is unwind the tightness in the back of my leg. And you'll notice I'm using my thumbs to find my temple, right? And if I couldn't do this today, it'd be no worries. I would just be pulling it down. But the main thing here is I want to keep going for the entire minute, staying with something long enough for it to work. That was 1 minute. I'm doing the other side. So it's around the foot. I'm holding on, and I'm not getting worried about the fact that my left leg is a little bit tighter than my right leg. I'm going to try and keep my hips down, but that might not happen, and that's all right. I'm giving myself permission to kind of do like a sloppy copy of the stretches early on in this practice. Just warming everything up, letting my body know that I'm here to lengthen, that I'm here to find some space, that I'm here to give myself the gift of a 10 to 12 minute stretch practice. It doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to be. And I think the magic happens, or I know the magic happens, is the fact that I'm staying with the stretch for 1 full minute, because most people, they just kind of dabble. They do it for a second, and then they move on, and they wonder why their bodies don't feel better. Stay with something long enough for it to work. That was 1 minute. So now I'm going to do what I like to call a little leg stretch too. My left leg is straight. The band is around my right leg. I'm holding on with the middle 3 fingers of my left hand, and I'm taking it out to the side. And I'm coming back up. And I'm just kind of moving through the tightness of the day, of the week, of the year, of the lifetime. And I'm not being so precious about everything being super perfect, because this practice is just to feel better, to stretch out, to find some space. Because if I can find some space in my body, I can probably find some space in my mind. If I can find some space between my movements, I will probably find some space between my thoughts. And that's what we're going for at this point of the day. And again, I'm bringing my right foot out to touch my right hand as best I can. I'm letting it be a little bit sloppy, at least compared to some people's standards, and that's okay. Because all I want to do is feel better in my body today. It doesn't need to look perfect. I'm going to take my left foot up around the middle 3 fingers of the right hand, and I'm going to let it go to the side. Now, if I was truly warmed up, I would try and keep my opposite hip down, but it depends on what the goal of your stretch practice or the goal of what your practice actually is. The goal for me right now is to find some space. That's it. It doesn't have to be super precise. It just has to be. And when you give yourself that kind of grace to not have it be perfect or look perfect, there's such a freedom that comes. You get the freedom to explore. And again, for our purposes in this yoga hangout, is to stay with a stretch for about a minute and to see what happens when you stay with something long enough for it to work. I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to take the knees together. I'm going to take the legs to the right. I'm going to drop the shoulder to the left. I'm going to turn the head. I'm going to spin my right ribs towards my left ribs. I'm going to allow my left hip to drift back. And then I'm going to drive my breath through the body. And I want to move out of this. I want to go on to the next thing, but I'm going to stay here and let my breath percolate, saturate, invigorate. I'm going to notice my hands, and I'm going to see if I can open them up. And when that happens, it seems my whole body starts to surrender, to let go, to trust the floor beneath me. Finally, breathing is getting soft. I'm going to take it to the other side. So the knees fall to the other side, and I allow my right hip to drift back. And I'm trying to let my right shoulder go towards the floor. But if it doesn't, that's all right. And I'm giving myself the freedom to simply stay here long enough for it to work, to simmer, to percolate, to invigorate. The whole thing about stretching is to get out of our own way and to trust the process and to let go of pushing to make things better and to let things unfold like they should. So good. We have one more item for 1 minute. I'm going to take that resistance band and I'm going to place it behind my back. I'm going to lock my thumbs here. And I'm going to just throw my chest forward and pull it back. And I'm going to do this for about 40 seconds, knowing that if I just stay with this long enough for it to work, that I just keep pushing my back into the resistance band, things will start to loosen up, warm up, heat up. Stress will start to leave the body. And again, what I'm trying to get across in this yoga hangout today is that you just need to not dabble. And we all tend to dabble too much when it comes to stuff for our body. Like, we'll try this, and we'll try that. And then we'll go on to the next thing, and then we wonder why nothing works. Stay with a simple stretch routine and ask me about it. We have so many. And give yourself the grace to stay with something long enough for it to work. And that's what I'm trying to get across, or what I tried to get across in our yoga hangout today.